Hi everyone, this is Nilson Lima. Thank you for joining me today. And we are going to see the changes I have made into the Cloudscape Seasons asset, and also to show you the demo that I have made to showcase it. If everyone have been following the support thread, I have stated that we have two issues. One of them is about the scalability settings, where we couldn't set anything below epic that the clouds will just disappear. So now I have fixed this, and I will show not only this issue but the other issues we had and how they were fixed. So first of all, the changes that I have made to fix the issues have made some changes in the way the blueprint is working. So first of all, when you enter now your project with the blueprint set, you see that the clouds will not show up in the beginning. So everything you need to do is click on the Cloudscape Seasons and the update button here, and you have the clouds. And now showing you, we have our clouds here. If we set high, medium, or low, we still have our clouds showing up. Okay, and this issue we have, it's related on how the engine works, because not only the scalability works at the material level, it also analyzes how complex and costly your actors are in the scene. So everyone that knows the asset well, because they bought it, knows that we are inside a huge cube, and the clouds, they are lit inside this cube. And as the cube, it's present in the whole scene, so when you change the scalability settings, the engine decides that this asset, this actor, should not be shown. That's why when we put the scalability tool set than epic, it was the higher one, it will disappear. To fix this, I have to implement a second blueprint. It is called now Cloudscape Viewer. And besides this will work to help improve the product in the future, it also has some to do with solving this problem, because Cloudscape Seasons does not hold the cube, but it holds all the materials, all the render targets, and the settings, the parameters to drive those materials. And when the cloud is moved and the light is moved, everything is like hanging on this actor. So that's why the engine decides that this actor costs some processing in the scene and decided to turn it off. And so what I have made is we still have Cloudscape Seasons doing most of the parameter holding and the material holding, but I have shifted the cube from the Cloudscape Seasons to the Cloudscape Viewer. And then now the system works, because as we don't have a lot of things hanging in this new blueprint, the engine decides that even with the main material having its cost, it is okay to be drawn in all the scalability lower settings. This is one of the issues we had. The other one that a lot of people that seen the other videos are aware of is that whenever you go and trying to change, like sliding your mouse over these settings or into a color picker like this one, and if you like drag your mouse like a lot of this, you see that the clouds are changing, and what happens here is each value the mouse position assumes is driven to the material, and these constant changes makes the new instances of the material being created along with the render targets. And as we have 4K resolution render targets, so it's a lot of memory. So this operation I made here was easily like take all your memory out, in the end causing the engine to crash because the garbage collector can't be fast enough to release all the memory. So now you see that we are basically sitting in low quantity of memory, and if I can keep in doing this, the cost is not there, was the same. So the issue is fixed, and to fix this, it was not like a small step. You have to change some things. How this was set before, we had in the main blueprint and the create render target. When I have the sizes you decide for each texture, create a render target set internally, like here. For these render targets, they are set here, and every time I have to create those render targets, I was trying to release them, but then the garbage collector can't be fast to do this. So we are removing this part from the next version, which is version 1.1. So it is not connected anymore. I just left here just for a reference. And now we have actually a way to decide each textures we will use. So then now you see in your textures folder, you see a lot of render targets created here. Each set I have provided some sizes that will be the common sizes to use for each case. These are for the turbulence, these are for the base, these are for the details, and like the sizes for the coverage, for the cloud shadowing, and for the layers, which is almost like the same for the coverage, but they are here. Okay, and how these textures are decided, each one to use when we set their sizes here, like here and here and here. I have made some data tables, each one with the sizes pointing to the render targets. So you can add more different sizes for anyone if you want to, and the code you handle these tables and in the end set the render target and clean it. Just this fixed our problem with the memory allocation. So this is a good stuff. I also have sun height and moon height values. It will allow you to, based on the sun and moon position, to help you to build your curves. I have included the cloud wind turbulence influence. Okay, this allows you to how much the wisp shapes in the clouds will move according to the amount of wind speed you have. So the closest to 1 here, you make the wisp move faster, and closest to 0, it will move less. And for this part, in the attributes, I have introduced the Hey Marsh sample cutoff. This was already present in the main material, and I have decided to expose it here. It is a very small value, and in the and how this works in the material is the following. As I'm getting array and I evaluating it, the density along its trajectory, there is a point where I have accumulated enough density, and instead of going like all the way for the ray length, this value tells the shader that I will skip the for loop for the amount of steps here to skip the loop earlier. Instead of going like 0.00001, I'm skipping earlier. So not evaluate all the smallest parts of the ray trajectory. So the usual value, it is already an improvement. On the shader is this one, and you can increase this value to skip even earlier. So even if you put like a value like this, which is a higher number, it already means that you are skipping even earlier. So like 2 even earlier, or like 3, okay? But then if you look to the clouds, when you get this number big enough, you can start to see less resolution in the edges. Check this, and now check with 1 again. You can barely see the edges. Of course, if I place a 0 here, you have even more resolution, but then it will make the shader even slower. So this is the best value for the best detail you can have when sampling the ray marsh. And another thing that I have introduced to help improve the performance is separate translucent screen percentage already inside, instead of being a command you sent for the shader itself. So if you come like here and you stand, say transparent separate, okay, there is a separate in front of it. So you have like this value here, so it is usually 100%. So you can decrease the amount of resolution for the translucent material, and as our clouds are made on this type of material, you can use it. Also, you have the screen percentage. It means for every single material in your screen, no matter the type it is, you're also decreasing the resolution. These 2 extra parameters can also improve your FPS if you need to in your scene. And I have brought also another values here in the cloud types, layer 1. It is layer 1 clouds uppercut and layer 1 clouds lower cut. What these values means? Well, if you have studied the videos and the materials, you'll know that we have the cube when we draw the clouds, and at the bottom the z-axis starts at 0 and up there goes to 1. So right now this cube is aligning to the 0.5. What this mesh vertical position adjustment means? It means that your actor, it currently is at 0, 0 in its location, and it also makes the cube be in the same location. It is placed regarding to this location here at half. It means that your landscape is also at 0, 0. And so what this helps you regarding performance, it means that for your GPU, everything in the shader that is going below your occluding area here will not be evaluated. But this would be true for some cases depending what you have. So what I'm just making this even faster is like telling the shader and not letting the GPU to decide this, because I can, like, it's more like a hint. So I'm already telling that, okay, you ignore everything below 0.5. And for the upper part, if I know my clouds, okay, my clouds, if I'm not wrong, the altitude here is like 0.1. Okay, and so now I am telling to the shader that I'm able to, I mean, if I want, like, I know that no clouds are here, and let's say this is like 0.3, so I can sorry, 0.1 on top of 0.5, and so here will be 0.6. Let's say this is 0.7, 75, so 0.75. Let's see if we are taking something. Okay, it seems not. If I keep removing, sooner or later we will start to cut the cloud top. So that is what this setting means. So if I tell like 75, it means that for layer 1 there will be no clouds being lit higher than 0.75, and these are the referring to the the cube itself, the mesh. And you can say so for the cloud, the layer 2, layer 3, and you automatically see each of these values are the higher ones, because if I tell like 0.8 here, and if I have like the layer 2 being shown here, I wouldn't like that the layer 2 will be cut by this value. So I evaluate for all the 3 layers, each one that has the higher value, and I choose the higher value. And for the lower, I evaluate all of 3 and decide which one is the smallest. So one will not interfere with the other. I can show all the 3 layers if I want to enable, and they will just look fine. With these settings, I think, speaking of the Cloudscape and the ray marshing method, hardly it's possible to achieve better performance on the ray marshing side. When and where you should look at performance gains using this as your building block, you have to look at your materials, because the materials you use in each layer, they have a cost, because like they are driven to the wind for the wind and wind direction to make the clouds move against the sky. So when you play, you see that your clouds are moving, and each layer, it can be moved in different directions at different speeds, because that's how the clouds works. And I think that if you can have the most of the execution time optimized in these layers, the more you can have. The previous materials I have made with just one noise node, and you can and we have like the base texture and the details texture. When you shape that noise, so you can have the look you want in your clouds. And these are part of the shader for all the clouds, so the cost will be always there, because I am eroding the clouds with these materials. So if you can gain the most time here, it's the good, it's the best you can do. And you have to decide also in these materials the shape of your clouds. Like I have made a new cumulus material. This new cumulus material, I am using 2 noise nodes inside it, and I have using little small steps in each one. So I still have like a good time execution for this material, and I have a great looking cloud where you have one noise node providing the purling. It makes these connecting clouds possible, and I'm using Voronoi to give them the height they need, and so you can see like these below shapes on top. That's why the Voronoi it's used. Okay, I I hope you guys can study this and see that, because it's another way to making clouds, and I will provide this material in the update 1.1. So be sure to update it. Don't worry, because I just renamed the material, and you'll not lose anything, because everything new, you will have a new material. So don't worry, you'll not lose any other material you already have been touching or tweaking. And let's talk now about the demo. The demo, I have used all the free assets the app has been provided for everyone. And so the free assets go from the open world demo, the water planes, they're like the birds and some fireflies here. It came from the Zen Garden demo, textures from the ground, the rock and formations, all from the open world demo. And I have tweaked this water here, and for the foliage, like the grass and the flowers and the trees, I have tweaked the light maps because they were too heavy. I have reworked the LODs for these guys too, because they were also too heavy. And I made use, like I painted manually in the landscape material. I can paint the flowers and paint in here, use it the same here to paint in the different parts. I have placed it like in the painting node these little rocks that spread randomly. Make use of some stones around, like this or this. Okay, this little firefly, it's a particle system. The birds and the dragonflies are particle systems. And a lot of these trees, they are spawned via the volume spawner for foliage. So I have decided that even the trees being too heavy, I have decided to include them with this much amount, because I want to show you guys that even if you do sloppy job regarding your scene, making it too heavy, you still have great performance with your clouds. So just for you to understand, remember that I told you we are inside a giant cube. It involves all our scene. Currently this cube is 2500 units, and the default is 20,000. See that I have placed in 20,000, and the clouds still look nice, but if I move into the clouds, it takes longer for me to reach the clouds. See, they are proportionally high above the ground. Just for you to say, you can barely see our landscape. Even if I have the maximum size, I could create a standalone landscape here. It will still be smaller than the size for this cube here. So this is how. And if you ask me, will having a larger cube cost more? No. The answer is no. The cost is the same because everything happens into a 0 to 1 space. So no matter, actually it can be even cheaper. You said, how that can be possible? Because like here, if it's 2500 units, it's like I have a larger part of this cube being shown here, even though the texture looks the same. And if I have to, let's turn on the FPS a little bit. Let's say we have, look into the sky right now, 60 FPS, okay, and if I put this to default, it is 20,000, we still have the same 60s, but it seems more see, bigger is better. See? But anyway, what you want is something manageable, and for this size of landscape, you don't need it to be a huge cube like that. And I want to show you guys more. And so I have also made available for the ones who have purchased the asset. You can receive, if you send me the purchase a coupon from Epic, I send you a link to download this demo here. And in this demo you have all the maps that I have made and a lot of assets made for this demo. What these assets have is the material for the ground and a blueprint I have created to manage the complexity to set the parameters for Cloudscape regarding performance. So basically I have a data table with the parameters and materials I need for each of the settings the Cloudscape has. You say, is this settings here something to do about the scalability settings? No. They are completely independent, and you just put your performance guidance in your scene, you attach the several components, and you say each performance level you want, and you can drive this through the blueprint you want to control your scene. Shoes, I have provided the cinematic and insane settings as an example, and you have two sliders that you can like mess with all the parameters regarding performance and regarding detail, so you can like move them individually and see how they affect your performance. And that's what the demo is for. It will show you a widget, and this widget it will show you like this menu, and I have made 3 maps for flying mode, first and third person mode with dynamic lighting, and the same maps I have baked all the lights for static lighting, so you can feel the difference between these two type of lights when you use with the Cloudscape season. And once inside the game, you have available, if you type the O key in your keyboard, you have this screen when you can change the engine settings, and a second tab where you can change everything regarding to the demo and the Cloudscape and the clouds and the performance. So you have here the presets for the Cloudscape and the individual settings you can change while you are in custom mode. And outside the custom mode, in Insane, Cinematic, Epic, High, Medium, Low, you can use the sliders to change these presets a little bit, with more performance or less performance, with more detail or less detail. You guys may think that probably these two things are completely related, and in some parts they are, because you can have one parameter that not only affects performance but also affects details. But you can make this asset grow, and for it to include more things like other materials that you can change as you change the detailing mode here. So it's up to you guys to look at the material and decide if you can use the idea or adapt to the idea, or completely reject if you have something better. It's just an attempt to show how you can in a certain way wisely drive these parameters in your game. So let's not talk about this anymore. Let's go to the game itself, and just a second. I was also trying to tell you guys that there is another issue I have found that prevented the clouds to be shown when you are in play mode. It can happen when you are playing a standalone game or you have a packaged game, and this is an issue that happens when you are using this type of render targets that you have here, because when you package this into a game, when the engine starts loading your scene, it takes some time for the rendering thread to initialize these guys. So the issue happened at two steps. First is these assets, these render targets, are not ready for the Cloudscape Seasons for you to draw something at them, and they are not ready when the Cloudscape viewer wants to use the reference that it took from the Cloudscape Seasons. And during this loading, it seems to me they have like an order when these tasks start. And what I am doing to fix this is, in the Cloudscape Seasons, in the event for the begin play, I come from here to here. I give him a delay of 0. This delay of 0 just tells the processing to do what? Skip this task and allows the next task it is being executed by your main processor to go and this next tasks besides this one reaches the handling thread, so it gives the handling thread the time it needs to finish your initializing those render targets. And the same happens for the viewer when you need to, at begin play, to access in the construction those textures. I'm not using 0, but it works if I use. I'm giving a little bit more time because as I am going to retrieve references from the Cloudscape Seasons blueprint, and they are 2 separate actors, and each one you can tell the order that your game will decide to initialize them. So you can have like this one being initialized first, even if it references the Cloudscape Seasons, and it decides that the references from here are ready to be taken, but the references are basically a path, a cooking path for these assets. But the point is, are they ready to be used? And what will happen is that in this case you're not only not allowed to draw into the assets, but with this one it gets an error saying it can use the reference, a reference that you got from this one. So that's why I just placed in this delay. If you remove this, you can see the message. You just click here on play to play in Pi, and you see the messages coming out saying that this blueprint can access or set the textures in the material because they are not valid. The fact is that they are. Anyway, these 2 delays are a workaround, and they work. So they really fix the issue. You'll not have the issue, but they still a workaround. So I am making a ticket telling this behavior. It's just I need to set up an entirely different project with something similar. Otherwise, I'm like going to the answer hub, submit a bug, and placing a project like this is not the case. I have to build something small, just as a proof of concept, saying this is how the project that causes the issue, and these are the steps that you need to make it happen. So bear with me a little more until I can have this submitted, and then when they fix this, probably like 4.12 4.20 we can see some type of this issue exists for at least since they have released render targets for us to use. It is always there. It's not something new. I don't know how people have fixed this into their projects. All I know is that I have been through this, and if you have ever using render targets reached to this point, know that this is a way to avoid the problem. Now let's get to the demo. Okay, let's just take out from here and let's get to our dear demo here. As I have shown you, let's go out to our first person first. First. And then take some time for the materials to load. I make this floating tooltip here. Remember you, this is our clouds moving, our birds flying around. Sometimes you see our dragonflies messing around. Not sure why they're not here anymore. Well, let's see. Like it type O. If you're starting this several times, you see that this first screen, it saves the settings, for you can see them again. That's quite useful because you don't have to worry about setting things. But as you will run this for the first time in your machine, some of these settings mimic what you have in the editor, but then it differentiates from there. So you make sure you have set full screen and native full screen, because these are the fast performance wise settings for your game in terms of mode. If you choose anything like a windowed, maximized window, you not see as much performance you could get. If you are a gamer, you already know this. It is easily realized when you play games a lot. I'm choosing this in full HD. You can it work already if you have other settings in your monitor. You can set for quad or to Ultra HD. It's 4K if you want to. The game works perfectly. The clouds works perfectly. But again, this is an expensive solution. It will not work with just a cheap card, GPU card, at the best performance. You need a really fast card, as you would with any game. A very powerful card to draw everything with good performance at 4K and at 60 Hertz. Let's just hope we have now the HDMI 2.1 being finally released at the time I'm recording this video, and it will allow 4K at 120 Hertz frequency, so it is a lot better. Let's hope the manufacturers for cards and like start to improving their products to make use of this. So for our test here, let's put this in Epic. Make sure you are not with vertical sync and your frame rate limit. Don't set this, let it is unlimited. And for this first screen, you need to click and accept to make this valid. And voila, you can, nothing has changed here basically. In the second screen, I have all the tools for showcasing the clouds. Of course, there is some things that is hard coded to the project, like the colors. Some of them are driven by curves, so I don't have to worry to have a color picker here or something else. But I have like the sky, the moon, the sun, the calendar here, so you can turn on and off. And this means basically that their event tick will not happen when they are offline. Same with the Cloudscape. You see that the if you look here, now you have a static cloud, except for the turbulence, because the turbulence isn't affecting the material. But you see that as I have stopped the tick from the cloud, the clouds are not moving. You have an apparent movement because the turbulence, but it's not moving. It's just the turbulence. Okay. If you want them to move, you have to turn on. You see that now they are moving. I can see the difference. And this is useful. The same for the sky, when I have the changes of the colors and according to the sun position. Moon and sun basically is the trajectory calculation based on the calendar. So you can turn off this and see how much they impact into your frame rate. I have made a simple post-processing for this demo. Basically, it introduces a convolution bloom, a bokeh effect when you're looking to the light shafts, and I have integrated volumetric fog here, so you can see how the volumetric fog interacts with our clouds. So let's start doing this. Let's start to turn on the things, the post-processing. Now you see the bokeh and the bloom for the sunlight. Okay. And you don't have to click an accept button here, just for the simplicity. I have made them to affect immediately as you click. And I have made a link between the volumetric fog and the sky. So, and you animate the sun and the moon and they change position. When it starts to become night, a fog will appear driven by a curve that you can find now in the sky blueprint. And this volumetric fog will go through all the night and it will leave at the morning. So just to show you how you can link stuff and get a better effects for your gaming environment. But if you want to see just the volumetric fog and change it here, not driven the time, clicking on the calendar, you need to turn off the sky. And now you can turn off volumetric fog. And when you turn on, you can start putting some fog here. Now you can see we have volumetric fog. This is the latest implementation for the volumetric fog from Epic. You can see the far away you see more density you have accumulated, and now more white you see. That's why you see these first trees, they are still visible, while at the bottom of the image they are a little bit white, getting some white from the color of the fog. And now I have to tell you, it works nice. It can like works with our clouds, but if you see now, something happened with the cloud colors, because we are adding for all the distance into the clouds this white color. So in your game, if you want to place the volumetric fog with your clouds, you have to add a curve to change its color based on the sun position, and point to a different curve if you have the fog turned on. it's not a workaround, it's just the way it is, because when you have in real life fog, everything tends to be shades of gray and white, and even grayer at the far distance. And this gray with colors, strong colors, like give some color aberrations. So if you are a photographer, you know what I'm meaning. If you are not, just bear with me and believe it. And what you can do, like increasing a lot, you see how much aberration you can have, because our sky sphere is even further compared to the position of our clouds. They are not adding that much white, but the clouds are, so they are not looking as good. In fact, in my opinion, if you want this much fog, you need to worry and write your particle systems, like to remove the fog on the places where you don't want them, even at the high altitudes if you need to. But now I introduce you with something different that works fine. You not have this color aberration, and I have mentioned this in our forums, in our support thread. What is this? Remember that I told we have 3 possible layers of clouds in our system, each one where you can set the cloud layer altitude and the direction and wind strength speed for each one. And so let's see you want volumetric fog, and since our cloud system are volumetric, so if you put the clouds near the ground, you can have they acting like a fog, and I have already the logic in the shader to do the light scattering, the shadowing, everything you'll be replicating this fog. So it's even better if you think so. So you can try, and if you think that it's the effect you have in your hands, it's easier because this fog effect can be reaching as much places as the space your cube is holding. So we have something nice. So I have a cloud set here in the layer 2. It is a Stratus Cloud. So let's turn this on. If I look at the sky, I see that this Stratus Cloud is now taking some places in the peak there. So we know about its altitude. And now what we will do, we will like lower this altitude and make the cloud at the ground level. See? For the places where the cloud is touching, we can see more if we increase the coverage a little bit. We start to have an interesting effect spread over your scene. Remember, if I just simply set the volumetric fog, I have the same effect all over. And now what I have here is that second layer moving, filling the spaces, given the color based on their density. So when I have a higher density, I have darker colors, And when I don't have density, I can see just the way it is. See the density there? I can see the peak anymore. I can like give more speed for the wind, so you can see this fog passing faster. So you now have like you say it as a mist. Look at this effect here, the mist moving. In fact, I can say this mist is the most cheap mist effect you can ever have, because the cost is already there. I'm brainwashing this already. All I have done is to put the altitude for this cloud in the ground, and now you have this mist moving according to the speed the second layer has. So it's quite nice. See how this effect can work, like when it grows in the middle of the trees. So it's very interesting. You can make a lot of experiments with this. If you're like building a game which is a mix of thriller, creepy, it would be nice when you can have the fog. But of course, you'll not purchase Cloudscape Seasons just to have a mist, and you still can use the volumetric fog as a cheaper way to have your mist. But then you have to take care and worry about your scene and spreading a lot of particle systems instances to remove the fog where you don't want it. It might take some work tweaking then to make your mist to move like we are seeing here, like it leaving this part of the trees. See, it's a really nice effect. I am proud for giving you guys this type of effect with so little effort from the artistic perspective. So it's nice to see it's evolving, so it's great for a mist. See what I'm talking about. People from London will like to recreate London scenes using this type of fog, because to do the same with the volumetric fog takes a lot more effort to make this. And all you need is a very shallow cloud shape just to make this. So you can use a very simple noise to recreate this a cloud that will not cost much in your processing. Okay, hope you guys enjoy this. I surely do. What you can see anywhere else. Now let's go to the good stuff. Let's turn off this for now, and let's start to talk about performance, because these were made for you to see how performance matters. So you have here show frame rate, and right now in my scene I'm getting 40 FPS, but we haven't studied anything. What happens if you get your coverage down? You get a little more FPS, of course. Less to show means more FPS. You see? So depending on what you're wanting to show, you can have more or less. Also, you have to see that even having more coverage, it means larger and bigger clouds. So you can drop a little bit your density. If you want to. The impact over the performance is not that much, but just for you to know that you can do. And now the other things, I have explained the Raymar sample cutoff already. If you increase here, you gain a few FPS. Screen percentage, I am now showing you how it looks like. So let's get to where you can see the top of the clouds in the leaves. See how they look like now. And I have told our material is a transparent material. So for the separate translucency screen percentage, the lowest value can go is 50. So if you look at the top of the trees, at the leaves, you see that they have a little less resolution. Some blinking might occur if you look attentively for it. And we have almost jumped a few FPS just for using this, from 48 all the way down to 41, 42. And we have the screen percentage. So for you to take a really, if you have not yet used this, let's get to this ground here. Look at the texture, see the details, and now I'll show what happens when you drop this like to 50%. Now the texture is a little bit blurred, maybe for some of you a lot blurry. And if you look for your scene, for the far away objects, you see that the absence of some resolution lines have its cost, and everything looks blurry now. It's not your video, it's not YouTube, it's just the game. See the FPS? We increased it a lot, but with a high cost in the details for your scene. And regarding the clouds, they basically look the same. There is a cost for details at them, but they are so far that you barely can see this difference. So you have to use this setting here wisely, because it can cost the quality of your scene. So the best value, keeping all the details, in my tests, this should not go below 80, and this, if you use it together, you'll not go lower than 50. So if you look now at your scene, things doesn't look that much blurred, but they are, trust me. It's not YouTube. They are blurred. And we gain with just these two settings like 15 FPS or a little bit more, just with those two. So if you start to tweak in here and maybe here, and here, and here, now you achieve 80 FPS in the same scene. Oh wait, so if can I get back those screen percentage and everything else? Yes, you can. You have actually to find out each settings works best for the clouds you have modeled, because if you see now the clouds are not that great. So maybe we start giving some more Raymar steps so the clouds start to look better. All right. While you're still getting enough FPS that will make you feel you're comfortable with your scene performance, maybe increase this to 5. I think you still can improve. Now it seems a little better. You are now ranging to 70, 75 FPS again. So make sure you can tweak this. But what do those other settings do? You just jump these values and some few that I'm not showing here to better values. All these settings driven by these presets are stored in a data table that you can look at and decide what to do. So insane with these sliders at a half position give you 50 FPS. So we are using everything at most, and if you drag all the way the performance and increase all the details you can get, you have absolutely gorgeous clouds. But your FPS is going way lower than you expect. This type of settings you would expect to use if you really have a high-end solution. See that we are not even touching these parameters here or this. Even this is using a huge parameter. Coverage and turbulence resolution at HKE. It's the size of the textures, not the size of the scene. So, cinematic. Now you have a little more FPS. Epic. Still granting we have all the details we need. Maybe we want to make a sequencer at this point. So if you start to think, okay, I think I can use the Epic, but I want to use more performance, so you start to drive this until you are comfortable with your FPS. Usually at half you mostly keep the Raymarsh steps and you start using the translucence since it is cheaper and gives you a little bit more performance. Clouds are still great, but then if you start to go all the way to the end, you use some points here from the person on the screen, and if you start to drop the details, sooner or later you start to see moving less and less Raymarsh steps, less self-shadow steps. And you get your FPS, maybe to a point and you want it, or maybe not. I want my screen back again. Okay, it's not 70, but it's almost 60. Or maybe use the height settings. So you surely have something like the 60s you need. But if I try to use the medium and low, the compromise seems to be too much on the details and not giving me much more performance. So that's now the question. If these details are not giving much difference, what is the issue here? Where is going my FPS? And then you start to get into our first screen again. Let's see what you can get for an Epic settings, everything at the middle. When I choose something lower, now looking at the engine point of view. So that's it. Now it's stable. You see that we have 100 FPS. Alright. So okay, but I don't have foliage, I don't have trees, I don't have I still have my my birds and my fire and my fireflies, but I want them back. So now we start to look what is taking away my FPS. Just for a comparison, let's disable everything else and also the clouds. So my scene without any cloud now ranges to 230 FPS. Just the material, just the particle systems, nothing else. So if I turn everything to Epic, still with no clouds, where did my FPS go? There is no clouds, but now I'm sitting at 70. I just turn on the clouds, and I'm still at 70. These guys shows that if you have a crappy scene built, if too much things with several draw calls, it cost you more than you think. So the scene has issues, and the clouds is adding a little bit, not that much. Even though if I set everything to lower, and I have like this much FPS, if I turn off, I'm like losing 20% maybe. So looks like weird, but all the guys that are experienced with Unreal knows that sometimes you need in your scene occluders. Occluders have a great job when you're drawing your scene, because they will block some features that will help you to improve your scene performance at certain spots. Because depending where you want your attention in your scene, you have to draw it for your audience, blocking away the stuff you don't want people to look at. And curiously, the GPU works the same way. Like if I look for this space, I have a glimpse of the horizon, and here I have blocked, even more blocked here. See, I'm topping sometimes with 270 if I look it closely. See, the more blockers you have, better performance you can have. So let's get back again our analysis. We have no clouds, and let's start to move our stuff here. So first thing, let me take this slider, it's our 3D resolution, to the end and click accept. So it didn't change anything for us, except on some parts. It seems I'm losing 10 FPS right now because I'm increasing the 3D resolution. It's regarding the meshes. Everything looks great, but again, we don't have our clouds. View distance. Let's see what is the epic settings will do. Didn't change. The same for visual effects. And maybe texture quality. Okay, we got something dropping, but it was too little. Mostly it was because we are changing MIPS. Okay, now you see how good the textures are, because we are in epic again. Post-processing, well, we don't have any, so this will not cause any impact in our scene. And the aliasing, we don't care as much, barely impacts. And maybe foliage, so let's start going to medium. Alright, we got some drop. And this is the lesser amount you can have back from your scene. So let's get our foliage at low again. And let's see what happens when we try to mess with shadows. Alright, shadows produced some drop. A little bit more. So, using shadows make your scene worse? No, this is because we have a movable light, which is our sun. So everything that can produce shadow in your scene will make an impact on the shadow calculations all over. So when you start to take back your foliage, Unreal starts to draw the shadows for every instance of trees. So they have epic shadows for this amount of trees. And if I have all the way back my trees, we can securely say that for this scene what we are having is a misbalance between performance per the number of assets we are showing. So we have to optimize the scene, and the impact the Cloudscape produces for this scene is just too little to be considered. So you can get a lot more FPS here, as you see right now. Now I'm moving for this part because we are leaving the trees behind, and you see that doing this I'm taking away from my field of view for those shadows, and then my FPS has just increased because I move away from them with our clouds. So this is the most we can get, like 110 FPS in this spot, because we can barely see trees here, but we still see the shadows they're producing, until we reach to a spot where there is no shadows at all. So the FPS increase a little bit more until we start to reach some grass and more grass, that then might make our FPS drop, since they are not largely optimized. Okay, I hope this make you guys understand that if you have doubts what is causing performance issues in your scene, instead of blaming, oh, it is the clouds, no, just start to turn off things. Start to turn off things and see how is this. And just to show how you can implement this and play with the stuff here, even if you have everything else, turn it on. If you are worried, just decrease your shadows to an amount you feel comfortable, and drop a little bit your foliage, or make your assets better. Use better assets. Make sure the amount of time you take to draw your landscape terrain is not getting too much FPS This terrain here is very cheap, and it has 6 layers, so you guys can take a look, and if you guys feel, oh, it's okay, now I understand how things is done. And so, and for the sake of having show you guys the other mode, so the 30-person mode is just the same of the first person. So it is instead you got our little guy, a little pawn here. So all in all, we still have our same performances basically you have previously. Okay. So no matter what I have chosen here, and what I want to show you guys is what does mean these modes when you change from dynamic lighting to static lighting. Okay, so we have here the same settings that we left, and here we just pick high, let in the middle, I don't care, and that's it. We have 50 and we got 20 FPS average, higher than using dynamic lighting. If you look at our clouds here, since they are static, they do not move. Even if I choose here to epic, okay, so this, even though if I get our foliage and put it in the epic too, we're still getting 70 FPS because we don't have moving shadows. That's all. The great villain of all times are the shadows. See, way over, and our clouds there. So this is just a proof for what I have been telling you. Now you can expect the same for the flying modes. We have more performance with the static light, but I want to show you guys with the dynamic lighting first. Always the worst case scenario first. There we go, a little UFO flying around. So what I have done for this little guy here, let's put this in high, turn on, that's okay. So if you look at for the FPS here, you are at 214, and as we are moving towards the clouds, depending on the speed, you can see artifacts. So I have made in this demo, once I get my UFO at a certain angle and at a certain altitude, I will increase the Haymarsh steps, so getting the issue with artifacts not appearing. So see that you're now at 70, and now you just do this. Now this, see, I look at the clouds and I change the rear march steps to 360. Then I can use the space, so I can accelerate, move into the cloud direction, and there we go, our clouds. You're going to hit one of them. So the faster I go, higher the rear march steps need to be in order for you to not see any artifacts, because or you are going against the cloud direction or in favor of the cloud direction. You can avoid the artifacts unless you use really high rear march steps. So now we are really above the clouds. Let's see how they look like from above. Let's increase our coverage a little bit. So can, oh sorry, like look how they look now. Remember, these are just cumulus. And if I turn our second layer, I can make it like a little bit higher. A distinct layer on top of this one. I'll try to improve a little bit how this layer looks like. So now you have two distinct layers, one below and one above. So you can make great scenes of like airplane pursuit. Again, you have to tweak most of you can try to, like here, up here, shadows doesn't matter at all, so remove them. Also maybe here, depending on the speed, even anti-aliasing will not be necessary. Okay, this is, as now we don't have any occluders blocking the horizon, our FPS drops quite a bit. And also because we are now showing much more stuff than as with we are. When I look to the bottom, I decrease the rear march steps because I'm not looking at the clouds anymore. So you see, rear march steps is increasing. And then if I don't need to be looking at the clouds, I just need to be flying this high. But if I point to the ground, I decrease rear march steps again. So let's bring it, oh sorry, everything epic again. So maybe the solution is still not great for a flight simulator, or so we still need to wait for better graphic technology to allow you to show this with great performance. So even if we change this to static lighting, while here, so we barely get like 5 FPS more. But again, having something going to the sky why would you use static lights just to gain that much? So it's said that we can have better performance. The movement while flying is higher, so more draw calls everywhere. We have the issue with the horizon, and so the GPU needs to draw everything beyond what you can see here. Remember, the cube is larger than our scene, so the GPU tries to draw this stuff, and our sphere is also larger, even larger. So unless we are near the ground with occluders blocking our scene at the horizon, you will not have the performance we expect. And until you find you're okay to go. Let's place our calendar here to close up our demo. Now we are driving the sun. I remember I have told that I have animated the fog, so the sky sphere blueprint is now using a curve to draw the values for the volumetric fog, and as the sun goes down, by the settings in the curve, it increases automatically the fog amount. So it's very nice, and as I promised, and this every hour is 30 seconds, so soon you'll see our moon raising up, and I leave you guys with this moon shape. Let's just get our volumetric fog here so you can see all the colors, the stars showing up, and our moon rising sun. Let's get back to our campfire. Oh, quite nice, because the wild is here, so let's get near to the fire. Now we see, yes, the wild is here. I can see the wolves barking somewhere. That's my dogs. They know I'm doing this video. They decided to bark all day long. Damn you dogs. Alright. That's our moon. Our new textures that I'm providing you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you very much for watching the video and your interest in Cloudscape Seasons. I hope to get some more news for you soon with new improvements, new features that I put in the roadmap. And I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.